and welcome back to the second day of Intelligent Insurer's Commercial Lines Inflation USA event. My name is Helen Raff and I lead our events here at Intelligent Insurer, and we are a leading hub for reinsurers, insurers and brokers, and we provide roundtables, workshops, white papers, webinars, virtual events, live events, news and publications. This is a 3-day event. If you didn't manage to catch some of the sessions from yesterday, you will be able to catch up with them on demand. And don't forget tomorrow, for those of you who are based in the Midwest, to attend our Chicago Live Networking Day. It's being held at the RPM on the Chicago River. It's an amazing venue, and it's a full day of networking and includes roundtables, keynotes, speed networking, and lots of social events as well. So hopefully some of my team will be able to see you there. If you'd like more information on that, do get in touch with us on the chat bot or reach out to me via email and happily send that over. So coming back to the virtual event, first of all, I want to say a huge thanks to our speakers and sponsors for the day. Without them, this event just wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to find out more information about our sponsors, you can go to the sponsors section of the website and click on their logo, and that takes you through to a page where you can find loads of information about the sponsor. You can find contact details, white papers, videos, and all sorts of really interesting content that will help you get to know them a bit better. If you have any technical problems throughout the course of the conference, then the easiest way is to go back to the agenda page, log in, and then you can see which session is happening live and do it that way. We'd like to make this conference as interactive as possible, so don't forget to put your questions to the panelists. I will let you know when the Q&A function is open, and we'd be really keen to hear your point of view on the issues being discussed as well. Finally, during the virtual conference, don't forget to utilize the networking function. So there's a community tab on the website, and you can go there and import your data from LinkedIn with just one click. It's really easy, and that will allow you to contact some of the attendees attending both the live and the virtual day at this conference. So that's enough from me. I am going to hand you over now to the first keynote for today. Today's keynote will be moderated by Tony Tarquini, who is an insurance industry advisor, and will feature Bowhead Specialty and Send. And Send is one of our key sponsors for this event, and I urge you to go and check them out. So, Tony, over to you to lead this morning's discussion.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the next session in Commercial Lines Innovation USA, where we will be getting the details on Bowhead's journey to build a data-driven specialty insurer from the ground up. We're going to be exploring the essential ingredients required for success when taking a digital-first approach to underwriting right from the very outset. I'm Tony Tarquini, and I'm going to be moderating this session. I'm an advisor to insurance organizations and solution providers in the insurance market. And over the last 35 years or so, I've worked with virtually every major player in the insurance industry across Europe and North America. So underwriting is a particular interest of mine, so I'm very much looking forward to this session. So I'm very pleased to say that I'm joined today by Bob Spina, who's the Chief Information Officer at Bowhead Specialty, and Andy Moss, who's co-founder and Chief Customer Officer at Send. So, gentlemen, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your organizations? Maybe, Bob, if we could go with you first.
Hi, sure. Bob Spina, I'm the CIO of Bowhead Specialty, recent entrant into the market, and we offer casualty, professional, and healthcare lines.
And hi, I'm Andy Moss. I'm one of the co-founders at Send. We started in 2017, and what we've built since then is an underwriting workbench platform. And when we started, we saw kind of the pre-bind market. We felt it was a bit underserved, and we saw a lot of opportunity for insurance companies to invest and automate in that space. So fast forward 5 years, we've implemented with customers in the UK and US. We've got insurers, reinsurers and MGAs that we're working with, and our company's growing with over 50 employees now. So yeah, that's us.
Excellent. Thanks, Andy. And I presume from that Bob is one of your customers.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay, so we get to hear from both the technology provider side and from the carrier side today. So that's a very balanced conversation. Okay, well, so look, new digital entrants in insurance globally are fundamentally redefining high performance cost, high performance service, and they're using that to their strategic advantage. Usually they are monoline, they have no legacy, but have digitally designed products, processes, and a service culture. In effect, it becomes a superior business model with admin costs, which often are half those of incumbents. And frankly, the gap is becoming permanent and it's becoming insurmountable. So in addition to that, traditional insurers with heavy legacy spend something like 72% of their IT budgets on maintenance and only about 28% on innovation. So lead times for even the most basic changes, as we hear all the horror stories, they're measured in multi-months and they severely impact business agility and time to market. Digital natives, on the other hand, are the opposite. 72% of their budgets are spent on innovation and only 28% on maintenance. Through having this superior business model, more like a tech company than an insurance company. So one of the more important differentiators is that their model is based on being data-driven. Today, what we're going to do is to hear about how this has been achieved by one particular organization, Bowhead, providing some really valuable insight from the incumbents in the insurance industry. So maybe we could start, gentlemen, by defining data-driven. What does it mean to be data-driven? Andy, maybe we could start with you.
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, data-driven is about companies having a vision and strategy about data enabling the business. So back to that sort of pre-bind thing I mentioned, we quite often see companies, insurers focusing on data as an output of the process. So it goes into the policy admin system and we see it as the enabler of the process, so making it something that's front and center and enabling the business to know what's going on at any point in time is the bedrock for all the benefits that you get. So, automation, decisions, streamlining the processes, better understanding of what you're doing as a business, better understanding of what change means in terms of how you can grow your business, add new products. So for us, it's really about that central vision of data being the thing that you run your business on.
Right, Andy. Thanks very much for that definition. So Bob, you've lived this dream. You've lived and experienced it. Tell us what your definition of data-driven is as a carrier.
Well, for us, data first is an important principle for driving the business, both underwriting, submission flow. But the key to us is that it's readily available and exploitable, and it's used. So we've been very careful about grooming our transactional data versus our business intelligence data, organizing that smartly so that we can quickly exploit it as we do product rollout and book management.
That's interesting. So the ability to be able to use it, because it's my experience that insurance companies are awash with data.
Yes.
Using it is the difficult bit. And I very often hear the expression, data is the new oil. But everybody knows oil is very valuable, but it's only valuable if you can extract it from the ground, you can process it, and you can burn it to get energy. So I guess data is very much like that. You've got to have it in that form which is going to benefit the business.
I completely agree. And in the way the stakeholders want to consume it is also important. We can't change their language to the data world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, maybe, Bob, you could tell us a little bit about the history of setting up Bowhead. Can you tell us briefly how quickly the organization was set up and what all of that entailed.
Oh, sure. So it was in the early fall of 2020 when the idea for Bowhead was created. Steven Silzer, CEO,
that's very recently.
Very recently, was able to go and get our partners backing for it. And so we built the first 6-person team by October and sold our first policy by November 1. That was in the casualty lines. But 2021 was a banner year for us where we rolled out the healthcare line, the casualty line, the professional line, have over 40 marketable products. Business was good. The hard part for the systems guy is, of course, where am I going to put all of this? So we clearly had to make a decision to be a digital first cloud-based company, which we would have made that decision anyway in 2020 for it. And so key to us was finding partners like Send that are going to be able to scale, configure, and keep up with the pace that we're setting. We're all about a product factory and driving innovation into the market.
So, Bob, that means that you've done multiple lines of business within this. It's very often organizations who are as early in their creation as you are and are trying to move very quickly, concentrate on one line of business or maybe two. Has the fact that you're going broad spectrum on this had an effect on the way that the business is operated and the success that you've had?
I think we came up with a factory model for production. Key, of course, is to have excellent underwriting in each of those lines of business that we want to be in. And we developed a product for data definition for the transactional elements that will allow us to write the business very rapidly and capture that while we build out the platforms that allow us to do the business intelligence and the extra pieces of information that we want to have to manage the business and to assess risk. And it's really it was very hectic, let's be honest. This is not a trivial thing to do. It is, when we say startup, we mean startup in the truest sense of the word. But I think the coordination, between the teams, we operate in a very different way. There are no siloed elements. We are mixed development teams, IT, product, underwriting, operations, and that's the only way we can get to where we are today.
So it occurred to me, you said something very much in passing as you were going through that. You created the platform and everything else it's all built on that one platform, as opposed to creating a capability to deliver one particular line of business. How important was that strategic decision to work with somebody, obviously in this case it was Send, to create that platform that will allow you to write multiple lines of business and to have all of those teams do what they need to do off the same central hub?
Correct. That is essential. I want to mention something that Andy talked about before. We made a very clear decision that the back office policy admin, claims, and accounting functions are not where we're going to be driving innovation, and it's all in the underwriting submission area, which is where the Send platform comes in. So we see that as a key element for we're very heavy craft underwriting. And the message was very clear from the team that they want a single entry, single location to manage and write their business. And so that decision to separate the innovative space where we expect to have lots of rapid change from the core back office, manage an insurance company business, were separated, and defining the data up front, that that's the first pass we do with the team when they want a new product. We find where the common data elements are, what's special to their line, and then we have a framework that we can drop it into.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Andy, when you entered this story, what were you brought in to do?
So we started talking to Bowhead not long after they started. So I guess probably just at the start of last year, and it was a really interesting story for us to go and see a customer. We hadn't done much with US customers at that point, and Bowhead looked remarkable. It looked like they're going places. They had the capital backing. They were bringing really great underwriting talent in, but also we saw that they had that vision around digital first. They wanted to build digital first platform, and by platform I mean not just the technology. I mean the business, the whole piece. So they were looking for one system to support their underwriting process. So that kind of aligned with what we were taking to market at that point as Send, but we've really seen it as a partnership, and we look at it as we have a lot of similarities with Bowhead in us scaling up, them scaling up. We see we get the joint benefits of that at times, in terms of the agility and the ability to get things done. So I think we've worked with them to put that platform in place. And as Bob said, there's when you build out technology for a digital first organization, there's the stuff that you need, the basics. So as Bob said, the accounting, the claim systems, you need all of those in place. But really for us, we saw the opportunity to help them innovate throughout the submission to bind process. So, we quickly got into discussions with Bowhead around, digitizing risks as they arrive. So, capturing the data consistently across products, ingesting data from forms, enabling data to be looked up through third-party sources to support the underwriting process. All of that sort of data-driven digital-first approach throughout the submission to bind process. So we've been on the journey with them ever since, and it's a really, really exciting partnership that we're in working with them. That sort of initial implementation has been followed up. Bowhead have deliberately gone out to seek people who want to work with a digital first organization. So they're the innovators, the challengers, the people who want to innovate on the technology side. So in that respect, it's been quite an exciting journey, and we get a lot of input from Bowhead in terms of where we're going with the business as Send as well, because they've got a view of where they want to take things.
Yeah, okay. That's really valuable that you have that relationship, which works both ways. And I think an important message, which I'm sort of reading from both of you, is that innovation doesn't happen in the back office. The Venetians, worked out double entry bookkeeping a few thousand years ago, so it hasn't changed very much. Innovations can happen in that front office area. So let's talk about some of the benefits then of being data-driven. What can a business set up to be data-driven right from the outset expected to arrive as the major benefits from their business model? Bob, maybe I could pose that question to you first.
So I think there are the two halves to it. Everyone always thinks of the efficiency half of it, where we're going to get better at processing a submission. We're going to be quicker and cleaner on getting information over to underwriters and all of that. But really that's very important, obviously operationally and cost-wise. But the other half of that is the effectiveness, and getting good data, getting good insights, and coupling that with talented human is a really powerful thing in building both a very good book of business and high growth business.
So both efficiency of the process, doing it very quickly, be able to get back as quickly as possible, but also writing good business once you've gone through that, because you're prioritizing where you want to work. Okay.
Prioritizing building models. Prioritizing building models. Really, I see it as it's a power assist for the
Our assist. I love that expression. That's brilliant. Andy, what's your comments on that?
So I agree with Bob. You know, the efficiencies around getting from submission to bind in the most sort of efficient way possible, and the effectiveness around sort of selecting the right risks and having the time to look at those risks rather than keying data in. You know, we've looked at the underwriting journey as something that's really enabled by capturing data once at the right time and then using it for all of the underwriting processes that follow. So rather than people having to key things in different places, we look at it as you get the benefits by getting the data in, but it's got to be in at the right time as well. So you've got to think about how you process the business, who's keying data in, what technology you've got available to ingest that data and put it in the right point in the process. Otherwise, you're working suboptimally. You'll end up rekeying stuff. So I think also it's about, you know, the benefits of understanding what's going on in your business and thinking about where you want to go next. So it's moving from that hindsight to foresight and really having a view that when you've got a digital first organization that's got, you know, a real data-driven underwriting approach, you move from having, you know, maybe a handful of data points in your systems to maybe tens, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of data points on an individual submission. And all of the benefits you get around having that data and having that insight that can be built on that data it's a force multiplier, because you know what's going on in your, you better know what's going on in your portfolio, but on an individual risk level, you've got more data points to work with as well.
That leads me to a question then, and I suspect all the underwriters who are listening to this session are going to be thinking of this back of their heads. If there's less work for underwriters to do, you know, if I'm listening to it, I say it sounds a bit like turkeys voting for Christmas. You know, what does this mean for the role of the underwriter, Andy?
I think we don't see it like that. You'd expect us to say that though, Tony. That it's not quite like that. We see the technology, data-driven underwriting is an elevation of that role. So it's elevating the underwriter into a role where they can focus on the value they add. So rather than, you know, we see underwriters frequently reporting that a lot of their week is taken up, you know, wrangling with data and getting it into the right shape. And that's not what you want underwriters doing. You want underwriters using their judgment, and that the art and science of underwriting, we want underwriters doing the judgment part, the art part, and let the technology take the strain on the science and help them see the insights. So I think it's not about, the industry is not about to wholesale replace commercial and specialty underwriters, but there's a lot that can be done to make their job easier, and that's where we're seeing the opportunities in that pre-bind space.
I think. Are you seeing that with your underwriters?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. I don't really see any pushback or concern in that space. Most of it is exactly as Andy said. They'd like to spend their time doing the underwriting part, the decisioning, and the craft piece of it, and not all of the busy work of scatter, gather, data collection. As you know, underwriters all have their own sort of special metrics that they like to calculate. And so if you can automate that for them, and really the intent is to tee up a really nice, well-formed submission and then let the underwriter do their job.
Well, so that leads us on to a wider sort of cultural thing. In setting up an organization like Bowhead and making it such a success, how big a part does culture and people feature in achieving what you have over the last couple of years?
So I would say culture might be the biggest keystone for it. We operate in a very different way with mixed teams of every department together to come together and do the solutioning. It is, well, as the startup feel has always been, everybody rolls up their sleeves. They work through problems that they were probably never asked to work through before, but it's all because they want to build a platform and systems and a company that hasn't existed before like this. So we have found a lot of enthusiasm. We ask a lot of time from every department in order putting this together, but we have individuals that realize that's why they want to be at Bowhead, and that is really what has made it successful.
Okay, so Andy, looking from the technology provider's point of view, any comments on the cultural aspects that Bob's been referring to there?
Yeah, I definitely see what Bob said in terms of that. I think what I'd add is that the culture of being open to the role evolving
Yes.
at the underwriter. So that's the thing we see where there's success in data-driven underwriting. We see the underwriters who've adopted a broader role actually. So they're not just doing the underwriting piece, they're moving into thinking about how they could streamline, automate their work, and so what data can be used to drive this decision, what rules am I actually applying. So that cultural shift of I'm not just an underwriter, I'm getting into other areas, I'm working closer with the technology people, I'm overlapping with data science or decision scientist type roles, whereas I think if you work, if people aren't culturally open to expanding on their role like that, they won't get the success in terms of that data-driven digital-first adoption.
So the opportunities are there culturally for the role to evolve and become more of a tech-enabled change role, so that they can feed into the technologists like you who are delivering the technology, how they can exploit that in a better way. I think that's a really important cultural change for underwriters who've never really been exposed to that kind of thing before. It's been I'll almost say a Luddite part of the insurance industry where, just keep that back. I'm an artist rather than a scientist, and I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to do it, as opposed to how can technology help me to do the art better. That's a big cultural shift, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's something that you've got to work at, and it's got to be front and center for the organization. And it's from the top down. That being open to that, thinking of an agile business rather than I'm doing it how I did it last year. I think we'll see more and more success in the organizations that have that culture where they can adopt the technology and they're completely open to change. That's where we think our technology works best as well.
Yeah, I would add that, as case in point with us, our actuaries, our underwriters, our finance, IT, all interact with the Send team weekly, if not daily in some cases. It's just not IT working over with them. And I think they've really enjoyed the opportunity to express things that they would have liked in a platform. It helps us understand exactly what they need. And the other point that Andy mentioned is, but you have to have the mindset that this is an evolving platform, right? We're going to do what we need and can do now, and we expect to iterate to excellence over time. You're not going to walk down and have the Christmas package under the tree on day one, and so people have to be willing to live through that evolution as well.
Well, that's any good change consultant will tell you. If you ever actually achieve your target operating model and think there's nothing else left to do, then you've failed. So that's a really good point there, Bob. So look, gentlemen, we're coming to the end of our time. Some final thoughts. Can we wrap up with your final thoughts on this subject? So if I was to ask you in 2 weeks' time, if you met one of the people in our audience today, what would you want them to remember about what we've discussed today? Bob, could we maybe start with you?
Yeah, well, what excites me about this space is I think there's tremendous potential to disrupt a very large established market, which is something I always like to do as a technologist. I think people who adopt this strategy over the next 5 years, I mean, there are going to be significant winners and losers in the market. And clearly, I think data-driven is on the winner's side.
Excellent. And Andy, your views?
I think there are huge benefits to be had in that shift of focus for insurers where they're looking more at that pre-bind processing space rather than focusing on the post-bind world. We think there'll be a lot of focus, big focus on pre-bind technology, automation, data, and we expect that to be a real area of major investment and innovation over the next couple of years. So, and obviously we want to be a big part of that at Send.
So innovation happens where the work gets done at the front end with the customers. Okay,
Absolutely.
well, there we have it. We've probably run out of time now. Gentlemen, thank you both for a very insightful session today. It'll be interesting to see who follows in your footsteps and who the winners and losers are going to be as we move forward in the industry. I wish you both all the very best within your organisations. And now I'm going to hand our audience over to our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.